Does the MLB start the season on time? This season with the MLB and the MLBPA being so far apart, asked by It's Daniel Anderson on Instagram. Guys, we're almost certainly due for a work stoppage come December 1st at 11:59 p.m. Eastern or December 2nd. Are you guys worried? Jack, what do you think?
Let me kind of lay the foundation before we get into the worry.
Yeah.
With what are going to be the hotly contested topics.
Yeah.
There is just a fundamental disagreement between the players and the owners, but that is not new. It happened all the time in the 80s. If you look at the timeline of work stoppages and strikes within Major League Baseball, I mean, it was very common. It was every time the collective bargaining agreement was up in the 80s. We've gotten out of that. We were really close to one in 2016. I don't think a lot of people remember how close we were to a labor strike in 2016.
Yes.
94 is the year that everybody points to, right? Now, this year is different because I think there are a lot of just very unfair things that haven't been addressed in a really long time. And I think everybody has decided that it's time to address them. Yeah. I think the biggest is service time manipulation. So unfairly holding down a guy like Chris Bryant in 2013 before he can make his debut. Or it might have been 2014. Or holding down, another top prospect when they're just so obviously ready. Another factor of that is adjusting service time. It takes a really long time to hit free agency. A really long time. That's got to shorten. It's probably got to shorten to hit arbitration too.
Yeah.
So what the players want here is a shorter timeline. They want to make big money quicker. The owners, they probably want a salary cap because they don't want to spend much money. The players don't want a salary cap. They want a spending floor. The owners don't want a spending floor. There's a lot of disagreements. It all has to do with money. And the overwhelming majority has to do with how quickly players can make more money.
Aram, as a Marlins fan, a team who doesn't like to spend, what are your thoughts on the salary floor, the salary ceiling, all this kind of stuff? What are your thoughts?
In theory, I thought the salary floor was an exciting idea. I thought Ron Cox, who's going to be our CBA guy throughout the entire offseason for justbaseball.com, wrote a really good piece about how it was somewhat of a farce because of the way that it would have to be attained and what would be given up by players for that to happen and a lot that goes into it. I would love the idea of a salary floor, but what is that coming at expense of and what does that look like? I think that was almost this little faux offer from the owners, like, hey, this is something we'll talk about, to almost distract from the larger points. And I think that they're just so far apart in so many different areas. And I know Jack talks about the service time manipulation. I don't even know if that's going to end up being one of the main issues, because you know what? All of the guys that are making these decisions in the MLBPA, they don't care about that anymore. Just like they don't care about minor league housing, just like they don't care about minor league pay. They're focused on themselves, and that's what it is. Maybe a few players care, but at the end of the day, the reason why minor leaguers have been mistreated for so long is because they don't have a seat at the table. They don't have anybody representing them, and these players are more focused on what's going on and how it pertains to them. So I'm very interested to see what some of the more contentious topics are and why they're so far apart and what the huge issue is. But I feel like a lot of the salary minimum stuff came with a lot of catches. And again, Ron does a really good job. And I think we might have to bring him on to talk about it at some point, because he can really lay it out eloquently about why it will end up just also limiting a lot of the ways that free agents can earn, because they're going to bring down the luxury tax as well. And it just creates this almost fixed market that I think baseball is good because of the free market, but at the same time, it creates a little bit of a lack of parity. But look where we are with the Braves. So it's a really tough push and pull. And being that the Marlins have never spent money, obviously I want to jump on that, but at what expense for the game as a whole?
Not just look at where we are with the Braves, look at where we are with the Astros. I mean, we talked about it last episode. They let Springer walk. Like, there is not a lot of high annual value guys on this Astros team. Like, they let all the big guys walk and they still get here all the time. So I don't know if the parity is the problem, like you're saying, Aram. But I mean, there has to be something that figures out, and some sides gotta concede. I don't know which side. What do you think, Pete?
I feel like you guys all kind of summed it up. I just feel like people might be worried if we will even have a season next year. And I'm here to say, I think it's like 99% we will have a season. I think the only thing that this might get in the way of is spring training, when guys report, free agency, all that kind of stuff. So we might not see, because free agents are eligible to be signed 6 days after the World Series. We might not see that until February. I know that agents were already getting ready for a big scramble come the last 2 weeks of March. Could that happen? We're going to have a crazy offseason.
Yeah, but remember, we already saw that. I feel like
exactly.
we have seen the trend of free agents signing later. So
We've seen it, but I don't think that agents are getting ready for that.
No.
That's the thing. When I'm hearing that agents are preparing for some colossal things to happen and for their guys to be ready come March, makes me think, oh no, I'm a little bit worried, but I'm not that worried in terms of a season actually taking place.
Okay. Betting line here. I'm going to set the over-under a games played in the 2022 MLB season at 142.5. Over or under?
I'm taking the over, and I think they play all 162. I would be very surprised if they don't play 162. No pandemic, maybe I'd not feel that same way, but everyone needs money. People have to come together. I know they probably don't care about the public perception of all this, but they should, because it's going to continue to keep getting worse and worse, and fans are going to want to leave the game because they're like, all these guys just care about money.
Well, and here's a big thing about it too, is what was the biggest contention when we were looking at the abbreviated season and what that was going to look like monetarily? It was who is going to pay for the loss of revenue. And they're both saying, no, you're going to pay for it. No, you're going to pay for it. In this case, if there is no agreement and they lose games, they're both paying for it. Yeah. And I think that's going to be the one thing that unites the millionaires and the billionaires is the money.
Is we have to all pay.
That's because they don't want to both lose money.
Oh, don't worry about the concession workers, though. Don't worry about the grounds crew
or the minor leagues or anything. Just worry about which guy gets 15 versus 20 million. Yeah. All right, let's move on. That was a good one.